He picked up an alien toy, and it turned him into humanity's last hope. Neon rain fell on Oriole 9. The city moved like a living machine. Rails hummed. Signs blinked. Crowds pressed in tight waves. Jack Soto pushed through the crowd with his courier bag hugged to his chest. The bag purred with heat. Someone's dinner, someone's tip, maybe rent if the night went well. He slipped onto the mag tram as the doors hissed shut. The floor was clear glass. The city glowed below like a sea of stars. Jack swallowed. He looked tough, but height still pinched his stomach. He took a breath and checked the delivery queue on his wrist. 5 stops, no delays, no mistakes. A gentle chime sounded near his boot. He glanced down. Something small rolled across the glass. It was like a prism and a seed at once, smooth and faceted, the size of a plum. Soft light pulsed inside it. Strange symbols swam on its skin as if they were alive. Jax crouched to catch it. Another hand reached at the same time. Their foreheads bumped. A soft ow. He blinked and looked up. A child stared back. Opal blue skin, silver lashes, wide clear eyes. She hugged the rail with one hand and held out the other, shy but curious. Behind her stood a woman. Calm face, steady gaze, hair like poured metal. She wore a plain coat with a high collar and no jewelry, yet the crowd gave her space like she carried her own gravity. Sorry, Jack said, handing the object over. Cool, toy. The woman took it. The light inside grew brighter at her touch, then settled. Thank you, she said. Her voice was gentle but sure. Kira drops things when she is excited. Kira hid half her face behind the woman's coat and peeked at Jax. It sang, she whispered. Jax smiled. Did it now? The tram announced the next stop, Central Spire Exchange. Big money level. Not Jax's level, I'm Jax, he said, awkward and honest. Courier. The woman studied him for a breath. Celine Ardant, she said. This is Kira. The little girl wiggled her fingers in a tiny wave. The prism seed pulsed once in her arms, and Jax's bag gave a faint answering thrum against his chest. Jax frowned and pressed the bag. Heat bags do not thrum. He laughed it off. Weird trains, he said. Not the train, Kira said like she was sharing a secret. The tram slowed. Doors parted. Cold air slipped in from the platform. Celine stepped out with Kira. Jax moved to follow the route arrows. Tips were on level 4. He needed tips. Celine paused and looked back. Do you deliver outside your zone, Jack Soto? He hesitated. Depends how far. Upper tiers, she said. Private address, discreet. She held out a slim slate. The fee will be fair. Fair in places like hers meant more than he made in days. He nodded before his fear could answer for him. His wrist pinged as the address landed. Upper tiers indeed. A place with clean air and real trees. Thank you, Selena said. Her face softened. You were kind. Kira hugged the seat and looked up at Jax. It still sings. The doors closed. The tram slid away. Jax stood in the glow of ad boards and tried to pretend this was normal. It was not. He finished the last 2 drops with his mind on the prism, the child, and the way people had stepped aside for Celine without being told. He reached his block in the rain. His building sulked between 2 brighter towers. Inside his room, the window leaked and the kettle whistled. He set the courier bag on the counter and told himself he would not think about blue eyes or private addresses. The bag rose 3 fingers off the counter. Jax froze. The bag floated, steady as a held breath. Pale symbols curled in the air around it, the same shapes he had seen on the seed. They turned. They aligned. The room brightened until his cheap lamp looked dead. A sound like wind rushed through his skull. Images poured in, ships burning in silent black, a wall of darkness peeling open like torn cloth, figures made of shadow and angles that hurt to look at. In the center, a larger prism pulsed like a heart. The light snapped off. The bag dropped. The room went silent except for the kettle. Jack stood with his palm on the counter and his breath stuck high in his chest. He waited for his legs to stop shaking. They did not. He unplugged the kettle with a shaky laugh, as if that could unplug reality too. His wrist buzzed. A system alert. Unknown signal nearby. He glanced at the window. A shape moved across the glass. Not a reflection, not rain. Something that did not hold its edges right, as if it was half here and half not. Jax killed the room light. The shape lingered, then slid away into the neon fog. He looked at the bag. It looked back in a way a bag should not. He should call someone. He should run. He did neither. Instead, he whispered, "Okay, what are you?" The bag purred again. Far away in some other part of the city, a small prism seed pulsed an answer, and in the middle, between seed and bag, a human courier realized his night had just shifted lanes, and there was no sign for the exit. The next day began like any other for Jack Soto: rain, static, and the hum of cheap neon. But something in the air felt different. His courier wristband pulsed with a faint, soft blue light, the same rhythm the strange object had made the night before. He told himself it was nothing. He had deliveries. He had bills. He didn't have time for glowing mysteries. Then a message appeared on the screen. Private delivery request. Client, Celine Arden. Payment confirmed. His breath caught. The woman from the train? He hesitated for 3 seconds, then pressed, accept. Hours later, his rented bike climbed the spiral roads of Upper Tier 7. The air was clean here. No smoke, no oil smell, no noise. The buildings looked alive, covered in vines that shimmered like crystal. Jax parked by the gate and pressed the bell. A moment later, a smooth voice spoke from nowhere. "Welcome, Mr. Soto. Dr. Ardan is expecting you." The gate opened. Inside, the house seemed carved from moonlight. Walls glowed faintly, reacting to touch and breath. A thin stream of water flowed along the floor, making gentle sounds like a heartbeat. Celine appeared at the top of the stairs. The same calm face, the same steady eyes. Her silver hair was tied loosely, catching the light. "You came," she said softly. "I deliver," he replied, trying to sound casual. Her smile was brief, but real. "Come in. I thought we might share a meal instead of another transaction." Jax blinked. A meal?" She nodded. "It's from your world. Terrain Cuisine. My daughter has never tried it." He followed her into a glass room that overlooked the city. A table waited with real food, bread, soup, even something that looked like grilled fish. Steam curled upward like a dream. Kira sat at the table, her eyes bright. The small prism seed rested beside her bowl, glowing faintly. When Jax entered, it pulsed once. His wristband answered with the same rhythm, Selene noticed. "It reacts to you," she said. "That's unusual," Jax forced a laugh. "Maybe it likes earth food," Kira giggled. "It sings louder when you're close." He reached out slowly, curiosity winning over caution. The glow inside the seed shifted colors, from blue to white to gold. Symbols shimmered on the table surface, faint but clear. They weren't just reflections. They were patterns like constellations. Celine leaned closer. "It's not a toy, is it?" Jax shook his head. "I don't think so. It did something last night." "My bag, it floated." Her eyes sharpened. "Did it show you things?" He swallowed. "Yeah, ships, fire, something like shadows moving inside the light." Celine's hands trembled slightly. "Then it's active again." "What is it?" Jax asked. She looked out the window, the city's glow painting her skin in soft silver. "A fragment. My husband found it years ago. He believed it was part of something ancient, a key built by a race that lived before our maps began. And now it's talking to me." Jax tried to smile, but his voice cracked. "Maybe not talking," she said. "Choosing." The air changed. The soft lights in the walls flickered. Kira looked up, uneasy. Celine's expression darkened. "Someone is here." From beyond the garden, a low vibration rolled through the air, like thunder under the ground. Jax saw dark shapes moving beyond the glass. Their outlines flickered as if they were half drawn, half missing. Kira whimpered. The prism seed glowed brighter, lighting the whole room in cold gold. Celine moved quickly. She pressed her palm to the wall, opening a secret panel that led to a narrow hall. "Take her," she said. "Stay close. Don't let that thing out of your hands." "What thing?" "The seed," she said. "It's alive, Jax. It remembers whoever touches it. And it called you for a reason." The shadows drew closer. The glass rippled like water. Something struck the outer wall. Not with sound, but with silence. A sudden sucking pull that made Jax's ears pop. Celine drew a small pistol, its barrel glowing faint blue. "We're out of time." Jax grabbed Kira and the seed, clutching both tight. His wristband flashed with a new icon. Unidentified signal. Inbound. Celine's voice was calm, almost too calm. "If it recognizes you, it will protect you. Run when I tell you to." "Protect me from what?" She looked him straight in the eyes. From the things that live between moments, another hit. The wall cracked. Air screamed through the gap. Blue lightning crawled along the ceiling. Selene turned her head slightly. Now, Jax didn't argue. He ran through the glowing hallway with Kira's tiny hand locked in his own. The prism in her arm shone so bright it left trails of light behind them. Behind, a shadow slipped through the crack, tall and thin, its shape writhing like smoke trapped in glass. It hissed not from lungs but from the air itself. As Jax reached the exit, his wristband spoke for the first time. Energy pattern recognized. Synchronization initiated. Light burst around his arm, wrapping his skin in shimmering armor. Kira gasped. "The seed found you." Jax looked at the new light crawling up his arm, terrified, amazed, and alive. Behind them, Selene's voice echoed through the hall. "Go, Jax. It's you it wants, and it's you who can stop it." The wall shattered. The storm of shadows poured in, and somewhere deep in the city's pulse, the seed began to sing. Rain hammered the landing platforms as Jax burst out of the glowing corridor, Kira's small hand gripping his sleeve. The city below roared with light and speed, but up here it was too quiet, too empty. He looked back once. The hallway behind him was twisting like liquid glass, colors bleeding through it. Shadows crawled along the walls, but they didn't move like people. They moved like reflections that had lost their mirrors. "Keep running," Selene shouted behind them, her pistol flashing with blue streaks. Each shot tore a line of light through the air, but the shadows reformed seconds later. Bending around the damage, Jax and Kira reached the end of the sky bridge, a floating rail platform flickering under the storm. Hover trams raced past in blurs of light. The prism seed in Kira's hands glowed so bright it turned raindrops into tiny stars. "What are those things?" Jax yelled. "Not things," Selene replied, stepping up beside him, her hair damp, her face calm, but her eyes blazing. "The Umbral. They exist halfway in this world, halfway in another. They hunt the fragments, and they found us." Jax looked around. "Great." He felt a pulse in his arm, the same glow that had burst out before. The armor shimmered faintly over his skin again, tracing symbols that matched the seed. Selene noticed. "It's bonding to you faster than I expected. I didn't sign up for bonding with alien jewelry." He shot back. "You touched the seed," she said. "It remembers touch." Before he could reply, the nearest shadow lunged into a tall, rippling blur that screamed in silence. Jax raised his arm on instinct. Blue fire erupted from his palm. The blast hit the creature square in the chest, and for a moment its body turned solid, long enough to see its face, a twisted echo of light and bone. Then it shattered into mist. Kira gasped. "You heard it!" Jax's pulse thundered in his ears. "I don't even know how I did that." Selene didn't answer. She fired again, forcing 2 more Umbral back into the storm. Then she pressed her palm to a control node beside the platform. The rail beneath them shifted. A hidden hatch opened, revealing a narrow maintenance tunnel that led deeper into the city's underworks. "In there," she ordered. Jax lifted Kira and jumped down. The tunnel lights flickered. Behind them, Selene dropped after them, sealing the hatch with a slam of her hand. Instant silence. The air was damp and metallic, filled with the hum of the city's endless machinery. Pipes hissed overhead. Somewhere in the distance, water dripped rhythmically like a heartbeat. Kira clutched the prism. "Mom, they followed us before. They won't find us here." "Not yet," Selene said, voice steady but low. Jax crouched, catching his breath. "Okay," he panted. "Start from the top." "Why me? Why this thing? And what in the galaxy was that?" Selene knelt across from him, her silver hair catching the dim tunnel light. "Because you are human, Jax. The fragments respond only to human biosignatures. My husband learned that years ago. He thought it was just ancient code, but it's older than code. It's instinct. The progenitors built the Nexus keys to protect our universe from the Umbral, and they built them to recognize humanity." He stared at her. "So wait, these things, the Umbral, they're trying to break through?" Selene nodded. "The wall between realities is thin now. The fragments are the locks that keep it closed. When your bag touched the seed, it reactivated one of the locks. That light you saw last night, and that was the wall trembling." Jax rubbed his face, trying to process. "So the entire city's in danger because I picked up a shiny rock?" "Because it chose you," Selene corrected gently. The tunnel shook. Dust rained from above. Celine's head snapped up. They found us faster than I thought. Jax looked around. We need an exit. Down there. She pointed to a round hatch at the end of the tunnel. Marked service access, level 14. It leads to the tram lines under the city. As they ran, Kira tugged his sleeve. The seed's showing something. He glanced down. The prism floated an inch above her hands, spinning slowly. Its glow projected a holographic map into the air. 7 bright points scattered across star systems, one pulsing right where they were. Is that? Yes, Celine said. The other fragments. Another rumble shook the tunnel, this time sharper. Metal tearing, glass cracking. The shadows were coming again, seeping through the walls like smoke through cloth. Jax grabbed Kira, clutching the seed tight, and kicked the hatch open. Cold wind rushed up from the lower levels. He climbed down the ladder, one hand on the rungs, the other on the seed. Selene followed, firing one last blast upward. The light flared blue and silver, momentarily freezing the umbral mid-crawl. She sealed the hatch behind them and dropped beside Jax. Below, a wide subway platform stretched into darkness. Abandoned trams sat like skeletons, their lights long dead. Jax landed on the platform floor and turned, his voice low. If they can come through walls, how do we stop them? Selene stepped close. Her eyes glowed faintly in the dark. By keeping them from opening the rift completely. My husband believed the fragments together can build a shield, but apart they call to the void. Jax looked at his glowing arm. The symbols pulsed in rhythm with the prism. Then we find the rest before they do. Selene nodded. And we start by getting off this planet alive. A distant hum answered her words. Not the whisper of wind, the whine of engines. Kira pointed. There. Headlights flared down the tunnel. An old cargo tram, driverless, drifting toward them. Jax grinned faintly. Guess the city still delivers. As they climbed aboard, the umbral shapes poured into the platform behind them. The tram lurched forward, its rusted systems screaming. Jax looked back. The shadows followed, sprinting across walls and ceiling, their forms stretching like liquid night. He raised his arm. The symbols blazed bright, casting a wave of blue light down the tunnel. For one heartbeat, the umbral recoiled, their shapes unraveling like smoke under a sunbeam. The tram shot into the darkness, leaving the echoes behind. Selene exhaled slowly. You just saved us. Jack stared at his glowing arm, disbelief and fear mixing in his eyes. I didn't save us, he said quietly. I think I just told them where to find me. Outside, the neon storm raged harder. And far above the city, something vast and unseen turned its gaze toward Oriel 9, drawn by the spark of a human hand. The tram roared through darkness, its steel frame shaking as it sped under the glowing veins of Oriel 9. Sparks danced off the tunnel walls. Jax held Kira close while Selene stood near the front, her eyes scanning the flickering dashboard that hadn't been meant to run for years. For a moment, it was almost quiet. Just the clatter of wheels and the faint hum of blue light running under Jax's skin. Then Kira whispered, They're still here. Jax followed her gaze. Behind them, the air rippled. Shadows stretched like smoke reaching for light. One by one, the umbral slipped through the tunnel walls, chasing the tram with impossible speed. Selene turned. They're tracking the seed's energy. Jax gritted his teeth. Then let's give them something to chase. He slammed his glowing hand against the tram's control panel. The old circuits flared alive. A surge of power rattled the metal bones of the car. The tram's lights turned bright white for the first time in decades. Hold on, he shouted. Electricity arced through the tunnel as the tram shot forward, breaking the speed limit by 10 times. The sudden burst of light burned through the umbral shapes, their silhouettes scattering like ash before reforming again further back. Selene stared at Jax. How did you? I didn't, he said breathlessly. It just did what I wanted. Her expression softened with awe. The armor is learning you. They burst from the underground tunnel and into a massive glass viaduct that stretched across the storming city. Rain lashed against the windows in waves. Lightning forked through the clouds above, flashing silver over Selene's face. Outside, the skyline was a maze of towers, each crowned with neon symbols in alien alphabets. Drone traffic zipped below them like glowing veins of light. The tram rails twisted upward toward the upper tiers, the rich layers of the city that Jax had only ever seen from far below. As they climbed, Selene tapped her wrist comm. "This is Dr. Ardun. Emergency Protocol Ether 9 request shuttle from Upper District." Static. Then a distorted male voice answered, "Dr. Ardun, your clearance is suspended. Your access has been overridden by Security Chief Var." Jax cursed under his breath. "The same guy who tried to sell us out?" Selene's eyes narrowed. "He's working with them. They've infiltrated the city network." The tram lights flickered. An alert flashed across the panel. Remote access detected. Kira whimpered and hid behind Jax's shoulder. "Can they control the tram?" Jax asked. Selene's fingers flew over the panel. "They're trying to. The Umbral can't use machines directly, but they can use minds that invite them." Jax's wristband buzzed again. A faint hologram projected from it. The same map the seed had shown earlier, but now only one of the 7 stars blinked, the one far beyond Oriel 9. "What's that one?" he asked. Selene leaned closer. "Helios Station. Mining outpost abandoned decades ago. My husband marked it as a secondary vault. One of the fragments may still be there. Then we go there." "It's off-world," Selene said. "You can't just—" Before she could finish, the tram jolted violently. Something massive had latched onto the roof. Metal screeched. The windows cracked under the pressure. Jax looked up. A shape crawled across the glass ceiling, its body flickering between liquid shadow and metal reflection. It wasn't just the Umbral now. It had merged with one of the patrol drones, half machine, half void. Selene aimed her pistol. "Stay down!" She fired. Blue plasma burned through the ceiling, but the creature split in two and flowed around the blast, reforming again. It punched its hand through the roof, long fingers of smoke solidifying into claws. Kira screamed. The seed in her hand shone like a star. The energy hit Jax like lightning. The armor reacted, unfolding across his chest and shoulders in a shimmer of light. His eyes widened as information poured into his head. Heat readings, weak points, shapes moving faster than sight. "Jax!" Selene yelled. "Behind you!" He spun just as another Umbral crawled up from under the tram, slipping through the steel floor like water through cloth. Instinct took over. He thrust his glowing hand forward. A wave of blue light erupted, forming a solid barrier. The creature hit it and froze, its form flickering between dimensions, trapped halfway in existence. Selene fired through the shield, the shot piercing the creature's core. It burst into fragments of black dust that dissolved into nothing. The one on the roof roared, shaking the tram. "Duck!" Jax shouted. He jumped, punching upward with the full force of the armor. The ceiling exploded outward. Lightning filled the gap. The creature disintegrated in the blast of pure energy that followed. For a heartbeat, everything went silent except for the sound of rain and the slow, fading hum of the armor cooling down. Jax dropped back onto the floor. Breathing hard, Selene stared at him, truly stared. No one human should be able to do that. He managed a crooked grin.
"Guess I'm not normal." "No," she said softly.
"You're exactly what they feared." Outside, the tram entered the final stretch of track that led to the skyport, a floating dock where personal shuttles slept in magnetic cradles. Selene's private pad glowed at the far end, guarded by security drones hovering like fireflies. "Almost there," Jax said, lifting Kira. "Hold on, kiddo." But the moment the tram entered the dock, the system alarms blared. Red light flooded the glass bridge. Every drone turned its weapon toward them. The overhead voice spoke calmly. "Unauthorized entry. Neutralization protocol active." Selene's eyes went wide. "Var's locked the entire dock," Jax groaned. "He really wants this thing." "They'll destroy the tram," Selene warned. "Then we leave the tram." Before she could protest, he pulled the emergency release. The side door flew open, revealing open air and a dizzying drop thousands of feet below. The storm howled. "You're insane," Selene shouted. "Yeah," Jax said, holding Kira tight, "but it beats getting vaporized." The armor around his arm expanded across his body, forming a thin energy shell. He grabbed Selene's wrist. "Trust me." She hesitated, then nodded once. They jumped. The tram exploded behind them, raining fire into the night. For a second, they fell through the storm, the city spinning around them like a broken halo. Then the armor flared, projecting a soft blue field that slowed their fall. They hit a maintenance platform, hard but alive. Jax rolled over, gasping, lightning flashing behind him. Selene landed beside him, eyes wide with shock. Kira laughed breathlessly. "You fly funny." Jax groaned, rubbing his shoulder. You see, well, first flight. Needs work. Celine looked at him, half smiling, half terrified. That jump should have killed us. He looked down at the faintly glowing symbols crawling along his chest. Guess the seed didn't agree. Above them the skyport burned, and from its flames, a single dark figure stepped out onto the edge. Tall, armored, familiar. Security Chief Var. He looked down at Jax through the storm and raised a communicator to his mouth. Bring me the human, he said. Lightning flashed, and for the first time Jax saw the flicker of black light pulsing under Var's skin. He wasn't just helping the Umbral. He was becoming one of them. Lightning danced across the shattered skyport as Jax, Celine, and Kira crouched behind a half-collapsed barrier. The rain poured so hard it felt like knives. The smell of ozone and burned circuitry filled the air. Above them, Security Chief Var stood at the edge of the platform, his silhouette lit by the fires he'd caused. His voice carried through the storm, calm, sharp, inhuman. Dr. Ardan, you should have stayed quiet. You could have lived a peaceful, rich life. Celine rose slightly from cover, her pistol raised. You sold us out. You sold humanity out, Var tilted his head. Humanity sold itself long ago. I simply chose the winning side. Lightning flashed again, and Jax saw the truth. Var's skin wasn't just dark from the smoke. It shimmered like liquid shadow. His eyes flickered between two colors, one human, one glowing silver black. Kira clung to Jax, whispering, He's half like them. Jax felt his gut twist. Half, he muttered. More like borrowed. Var smiled, his teeth too sharp. The Umbral don't destroy. They upgrade. Imagine it, Jax Soto. No hunger, no fear, no limits. You felt it already, haven't you? The power in your veins. Jax's arm pulsed faint blue in response. Yeah, but mine doesn't whisper in my head. You'll learn to listen, Var said. The armor you wear, it's the key's call. It's not meant for humans. It's meant for what comes after them. Celine fired, cutting him off. The plasma bolt struck his shoulder and went straight through. The wound closed in a swirl of smoke and light. Futile, Var said. The Umbral see through time. The fragments are theirs by design. I only help fate unfold. Jax stepped out from behind the barrier. Rain plastered his hair against his forehead, the armor on his arm pulsing brighter with every heartbeat. Funny thing about fate, he said. Humans don't do well when someone tries to write it for them. Var's grin widened. Then let's see what you can rewrite. The world exploded into motion. Var's hand snapped forward and the air itself bent. Jax dove aside as a column of compressed rain cut through the platform like a blade. Celine fired again and again, blue bursts lighting the storm, but Var moved faster than light. Every step trailing black mist. Jax's instincts took over. His armor responded before he could think, forming plates across his chest and shoulders. Each pulse of his heart sent another wave of energy rippling through the air. He charged. Their fists met in a blast that cracked the platform. Energy and shadow clashed, blue against black. Sparks flew. Jax's armor flared brighter, fighting to stay solid. Var's body split into fragments, sliding around him like smoke. You can't kill me, Var whispered from everywhere at once. You're fighting a reflection. Then I'll break every mirror. Jax slammed his hand into the ground. The armor surged outward, spreading a shockwave of blue light that ripped through the shadows. Var staggered back, his form flickering violently. For a split second, his face looked human again. Tired, pained, almost pleading. You don't understand, Var said through clenched teeth. They're already here. Then the sky tore open. High above, the clouds split like fabric, revealing a wound of pure darkness. The edges glowed red and something moved behind it, enormous, shapeless, watching. The rift. The same vision Jax had seen in his dreams. Celine grabbed Kira and shouted over the roaring wind. It's starting. If that tear stays open, the Umbral will cross fully. Var laughed, half mad, half ecstatic. Let them. This world was never meant to last. Jax raised his arm, the armor responding to his fury. Then you're not meant to last either. He rushed forward again. This time he didn't punch, he reached. The armor expanded, wrapping around Var's arm. Their energies collided, fighting for control. Var's corruption bled into the blue light like ink in water. The symbols on Jax's armor changed. New ones appeared, sharper, more intricate, forming patterns that spiraled across his chest. His mind filled with a flood of alien memory. Battlefields of glass. Stars dying, a voice saying, The lock chooses only those who defy despair. He screamed, driving the energy forward. A shockwave burst outward. Var was thrown backward, crashing into a wall of burning wreckage. When the smoke cleared, he was gone. Only a shadow mark remained, pulsing faintly. The rift above shrieked. The noise wasn't sound, but it was pressure squeezing the world. The storm went silent. Lightning froze mid-air. Kira's voice trembled. "It's watching us." Celine's eyes glowed faintly as she studied the rift. "We need to leave this planet now." Jax turned to her. "Where?" "Helios Station," she said firmly. "It's not just a vault. It's a forge. The next fragment is there, and if we find it, maybe we can close that thing." The armor dimmed, still humming with power. "Then let's get a ride." Selene looked at him, half a smile cutting through the fear. "You have one." She nodded toward the far end of the platform, where a small courier shuttle, battered and old, rested under a flickering hangar light. Jax laughed once, shaking his head. "Of course," he said. "My old delivery ship." Kira tilted her head. "It flies?" Jax smirked. "Barely." They ran through the rain toward it. Behind them, the burning skyport collapsed and the rift in the sky widened, bleeding darkness into the storm. As the shuttle engines coughed to life, Selene looked back one last time. The shadow mark where Var had fallen pulsed once, then vanished into the floor. Jax saw it too. "He's not gone, is he?" "No," she said quietly. "He's waiting. And next time he won't be half human." The shuttle lifted into the storm, leaving the city below drowning in neon and thunder. Jax looked out through the cockpit window as the planet curved beneath them. The rift's glow followed them into space like an open eye. He clenched his glowing hand. "Then we go close it." Selene set the course for Helios Station. The stars stretched into streaks of light as the jump engines roared to life. And in that moment, between lightning and silence, Jax Soto stopped being a courier. He became the first guardian of the fragments. Space stretched like black silk as their small shuttle cut through the void. The engines hummed softly, steady but tired. Oriel 9 had become a tiny blue spark behind them. Ahead, the Helios mining station floated in shadow, a vast skeletal structure orbiting a dying star. Jax watched from the cockpit window as lightning arced across the star's molten surface. The armor on his arm glowed faintly in rhythm with the star's heartbeat. Selene sat beside him, studying the readings on a flickering screen. The station's systems are barely alive. No heat signatures. No defense drones. It's empty. "Empty sounds good," Jax said. "I've had enough company lately." But Kira, sitting on the floor behind them, shook her head. Her small hands held the prism seed. It pulsed brighter than before. "It's not empty," she whispered. "Something's singing in there." Selene met Jax's eyes. She's never wrong about these things. The shuttle approached the station's outer ring. The hull was covered in scorch marks, signs of an old battle. Whole sections hung open, venting frozen debris into the void. They docked in silence. The airlock hissed. Cold vapor spilled out like ghostly smoke. Jax stepped inside first, his boots clanging on the metal floor. His helmet light flickered over rusted panels and drifting dust. Signs still hung on the walls. Faded letters reading Helios Mining Consortium, and beneath it the words, "Prosperity through energy." "Guess that didn't age well," Jax muttered. The corridors stretched ahead like a maze. Some doors were welded shut. Others hung loose. The sound of their breathing echoed through the emptiness. Selene moved carefully, scanning with a handheld device. "Radiation's low. Air's thin but breathable. Stay close." Kira stayed between them, the seed glowing softly in her arms. The light cast strange shadows on the walls, like faces moving just beyond sight. As they passed a broken viewport, Jax froze. Outside, the dying star flickered, and for a moment he saw shapes moving inside its fire, long, thin silhouettes swimming through plasma, watching. "Selene," he whispered. "Are those umbral?" she said grimly. "Not full bodies. Echoes. They're drawn to the fragment's energy. We need to find the vault before they realize we're here." They descended deeper into the station, into the mining core. The architecture changed. The walls shifted from metal to something else. Smooth silver stone with lines of ancient script running through it. Selene stopped, touching one of the lines. "Progenitor design. My husband was right. The miners must have built around a relic site." Kira's eyes widened. "The seed knows this place." The child walked forward, drawn by instinct. As she stepped into a circular chamber, the seed floated out of her hands, spinning faster and faster until it hovered above the floor. The glow expanded into a full projection, a 3D map of the galaxy again. This time, one more point of light flared into existence in the fragment here. "It's below us," Celine said softly. "Deep inside the planet's crust." "Then let's dig it up," Jax replied, but before he could move, the lights flickered. The air grew heavy. The floor vibrated. From the dark doorway behind them, a cold voice echoed, "You're too late." Var stepped out of the shadows, but he wasn't Var anymore. His armor was fused with black crystal. His skin shimmered with fluid darkness. The umbral energy crawled across him like veins of liquid fire. "Did you think you could hide in the dark?" He sneered. "The rift sees everything." Jax moved in front of Kira instinctively. "You should have stayed down when you had the chance." "I did," Var said. "Down where the umbral whisper. They showed me what you are. A mistake in their design." Celine's hand trembled near her pistol. "You've let them inside you." "I didn't let them in," Var growled, his voice echoing unnaturally. "I became one of them, and soon so will you." He raised his hand. A shockwave of black light tore through the room, flinging Jax and Celine against the wall. The armor on Jax's chest flared in response, shielding him from the worst of it. "Kira, get back!" Jax shouted. But the girl stood frozen, eyes locked on the seed. It pulsed wildly now, responding to the clash of energy. Jax pushed himself to his feet. "You want it, Var? Come get it." Var lunged forward, moving faster than light, his claws cutting through air like blades. Jax met him halfway, blue and black light colliding with a thunderclap. Sparks flew across the chamber. Celine fired, but her shots passed through Var's half-solid body. He laughed. "Your weapons belong to the past, Doctor." "Then try this," Jax said, slamming his palm to the floor. The armor's glow expanded outward in a pulse of raw energy. The chamber's runes flared to life, resonating with the seed. The walls began to move, not collapse but transform. The chamber unfolded like a flower of light, revealing a crystal monolith in the center. Inside it floated a second fragment, larger, brighter, pulsing in rhythm with Jax's armor. "The Helios core," Celine whispered. Var's eyes widened. "It's mine!" He dashed forward, reaching for the fragment, but Jax was faster. He leapt through the energy field and slammed his hand against the crystal. The world exploded into color. For an instant, everything froze. Jax saw memories that weren't his. The progenitors forging the keys, their cities suspended in light. Their voices echoing through the void. Guardians will rise when the wall weakens. When the light faded, the crystal was gone. The fragment had merged completely into Jax's armor. The patterns across his chest shifted again, forming a complete circle. Var screamed, a sound that wasn't human. "You've doomed yourself!" He attacked again, but Jax didn't move to block. He simply raised his hand. The armor responded on its own, projecting a barrier that reflected Var's own energy back at him. The black fire consumed its host, swallowing him whole. When the smoke cleared, there was nothing left but a smear of shadow on the ground. Jax collapsed to one knee, panting. The armor dimmed to a quiet glow. Celine rushed to his side. "I'm fine," he gasped. "I think it's changing me." She touched his shoulder gently. "Then let it. The universe needs someone who can wield that power." Kira ran up, the seed glowing calmly in her arms again. "It's quiet now. The bad voice is gone." Celine looked around the chamber. "For now, but the rift is still open." Jax stood, staring at the glowing lines on the walls. "Then we close it." He turned to Celine. "The armor. It showed me something. A place beyond the rift. A base, human-made. They called it Bastion. They've been waiting for us." Celine's eyes widened. "A resistance?" Jax nodded. "A fleet. Hidden in the asteroid belt, and they have the means to forge the rest of the fragments into one key." Kira smiled sleepily, clutching the seed. "Then we can stop the dark?" Jax knelt beside her, brushing a hand over her hair. "Yeah, kid. We can stop it." Celine placed a hand over his glowing armor. "And if it tries to stop us first?" He met her gaze, the reflection of the dying star flickering in his eyes. "Then the Umbral are about to learn what humans do best." She tilted her head. "And what is that?" "Survive," Jax said with a grin. "And deliver hope where no one else can." Outside, the dying star flared one last time as their shuttle lifted from the ruined station. Behind them, The Helios core went dark, and far ahead the first lights of Bastion flickered into view. The stars stretched into white fire as their shuttle dropped out of hyperspace. Before them floated Bastion, humanity's secret fortress, a massive ring of steel and light carved into an asteroid. Thousands of ships orbited it, each bearing the mark of a forgotten Earth. It looked less like a base and more like a city forged from desperation and courage. Jack stared in awe. So it's real. Celine nodded, her voice soft but proud. The last refuge. My husband spoke of this place before he died. He called it the heartbeat of humanity. The comm crackled. This is Commander Hale Varro of Bastion Control. Identify yourself. Jax pressed the transmitter. Jack Soto, courier class. I'm carrying something old and dangerous. A long silence followed. Then the voice returned, quieter. Docking Bay 3 is ready. Welcome home, Guardian. The shuttle slid into the bay like a bullet into a chamber. When the hatch opened, uniformed officers surrounded them, weapons drawn, not out of threat but caution. The air inside smelled of iron and ozone. Every corridor hummed with contained power. Commander Hale stepped forward, an older man with cybernetic eyes and scars that told stories Jax didn't want to know. He studied Jax, then the glowing patterns on his armor. It really chose you, he murmured. The first human host since the collapse, Jax frowned. You mean this armor's done this before? Hale nodded. The progenitors didn't build the Nexus keys to open rifts. They built them to close them. You're the final lock. Celine's eyes widened. Then all the fragments are nearly assembled. Hale finished. Your merge at Helios activated the final sequence. The key is whole again, but the rift has begun to fully awaken. He led them through the hangar toward a chamber deep in Bastion's heart. The Nexus chamber, a dome lined with spinning rings of crystal and light. Inside, 6 glowing shards floated in a circle, waiting for the 7th, the one now embedded in Jax's chest. Once you step inside, Hale said, there's no turning back. The key will fuse with you completely. You'll become its conduit and its shield. Celine took Jax's hand. If you do this, you might not survive. Jax smiled faintly. Story of my life. I used to risk it all just to deliver noodles on time. Kira stood nearby, clutching the small prism seed. You can do it, Jax. The seed says you can. He looked down at her, his heart tightening. Then I'll trust the seed. He stepped into the circle. The air shimmered. The fragments rose, orbiting him faster and faster until they blurred into a ring of blue fire. The armor's lines burned bright, tracing every nerve under his skin. Hale shouted over the rising hum. Focus on your intent. The key responds to will, to what you want to protect. Jax closed his eyes. The storm of memories crashed through him. The courier days, the endless nights of running, the faces of people who never looked up, the kindness of Celine, Kira's laughter, humanity's fragile hope. He whispered one word. Home. The Nexus key answered. Light exploded outward. Every ship in Bastion trembled as waves of energy rippled through space. The rift appeared on the monitors, a vast wound opening above the nearby star. From its depths, black tendrils reached, pulling reality apart. Celine grabbed the rail, shouting, It's here! In the chamber, Jax's body levitated, wrapped in living light. The fragment spun faster, merging into a single crystalline heart that fused with his armor. Symbols of the progenitors burned across the walls. The rift struck. Shadows poured through like smoke given life. The Umbral fleet arrived, their ships twisting impossibly, half real, half nightmare. Energy beams tore into Bastion's outer ring. Commander Hale barked orders, but Celine barely heard him. Her eyes were locked on Jax when, floating, motionless, the key pulsing with his heartbeat. Jax, she screamed. They're breaking through. He opened his eyes. They glowed like twin stars. Then we finish this, he raised his arms. The Nexus chamber erupted with blinding light. Streams of pure energy lanced into the void, striking every Umbral vessel. Where they touched, the shadows unraveled, dissolving into motes of silver dust. The rift resisted, roaring like a living thing. It clawed at space itself, widening again. Jack stepped forward, his voice echoing through every comm channel, every speaker, every heart on Bastion. They think fear makes us weak. They're wrong. Fear makes us human, and humanity delivers. He thrust both hands toward the rift. The energy surged. The entire station vibrated. Stars flickered, bending inward as if the universe itself was holding its breath. Then, with one final pulse, the rift collapsed. Silence. The light faded slowly. The monitors cleared. Space was calm again. The umbral ships were gone, erased like a nightmare at dawn. Celine ran into the chamber as the crystal shards drifted gently down. At its center, Jax stood motionless, his armor dim, smoke rising from his shoulders. "Jax," she whispered, touching his cheek. His eyes fluttered open. "Hey," he murmured weakly. "Delivery complete." She laughed through her tears and pulled him close. "You idiot. You saved everyone." Behind them, the Nexus key floated. No longer fragments, no longer weapon, just a soft blue core pulsing with quiet peace. Kira ran in, holding the prism seed which now glowed gold. "It's happy," she said. "It says the bad voices are gone." Commander Hale entered, watching the key's steady rhythm. "The barrier is sealed. The Umbral can't return. Humanity is safe." Jax smiled faintly, looking out the viewport as the stars glimmered anew. "Guess I'm out of a job." Celine shook her head. "No, Jax Soto. You just got promoted from courier to Guardian of the Light," Kira giggled. "Guardian Jax." He chuckled, holding out his glowing hand as the last bit of light faded from his armor. "Has a nice ring to it." Outside, Bastion's engines hummed softly. Across the galaxy, the wounds in reality sealed one by one, and in the endless dark between stars the whispering void grew quiet. As Celine rested her head on Jax's shoulder, he looked out at the peaceful stars and grinned. "Funny," he said. "All this started because I picked up a toy." Celine smiled. "Not a toy. A destiny." The camera would pull back then, past the station, past the healed sky, into the infinite dark where one faint blue light pulsed gently. A beacon. A warning, and a promise. That if the darkness ever tried again, humanity would answer.